at a Korean restaurant.
Oh, dude, that's the best place to do karaoke.
Oh my! It was fun, but Michael Jackson, I am not.
Ooh, yeah. I would do something on level with my deep voice, like a Jim Morrison or Frank Sinatra or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't care.
Just go straight for Journey and freaking
That was after
Foreigner.
That was when I used to drink after a lot of soju.
Ooh, yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, that was a fun night until it wasn't.
Yeah. What's up, guys? I'm Eric Hines.
And I'm Chris Otto.
And this is According to Men. Welcome to officially YouTube episode 1, but episode 56 for our listeners on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and really anywhere where podcasts are available. Man, feels good to be recording again. We're back on a regular routine this 2025. I know we had a lot of work we put in Q3 and Q4 of 24, and a lot of that went into, of course, the Iron Mind Tribe, which Chris and I both co-lead and operate in to help men to better themselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. But what's been going on, man? How's everything been with the gym, life?
Been staying busy in the gym. Just I'm excited, man, because Pamela and I yesterday just booked a trip to Aruba.
Ooh, let's go.
For April. Place we're going to be staying is amazing. So we had, usually when I go to a place like, let's say Cancun or, you know, a nice beach type area, we do the resort type thing.
Smart.
We didn't want to do a resort because, you know, it's all inclusive. You get all the food, all the drinks. We don't drink. So I was like, let's get an Airbnb.
Ooh.
It was only $600 for an Airbnb for like 6 days.
That's not bad.
Flight was the most expensive thing, but bro, looking at the photos of this place and the reviews, it's going to be a great time.
You're gonna have to show me.
yeah, it's going to be a great time.
Yeah, that's the way to go, man. It is different when you vacation, and for once in your life, not everything's focused and centered on alcohol, right?
Oh yeah.
Because those all-inclusive resorts, that's literally what they cater to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the same as if going on a cruise. You wouldn't really get your money's worth by getting an unlimited drink pass or whatever they try to sell you or bundle you on.
Yeah.
Because it's irrelevant. It's not something that we focus on anymore.
Yeah, I've got some history with resorts. My honeymoon with my ex.
Ooh.
Stayed at a resort in the Dominican Republic and got hammered.
Really?
The first night we were there, and big fight. It ruined the entire trip, man.
Yeah, I had a pretty good experience. Kind of like, honestly, the best way to describe it is like you at the Korean karaoke place. It was great until it wasn't. Went to a destination wedding. My cousin got married in Cancun, and we stayed at an all-inclusive resort. And the wedding was beautiful. Everything was fine. They had, I drank at the time, I believe, and but I didn't go crazy. You know, got plenty of sun, a lot of activities to do. But probably a couple days into almost like this week-long trip there, and the way that we were all sectioned out in this resort, we weren't next to one another's rooms. And this was problematic because there was some belligerent drunk couple that was being verbally and physically abusive to one another in the next door room to my parents were staying. And I wasn't anywhere near them. Now, for those of you that know me from listening to previous episodes, I have older parents. My dad's still a big dude. He's 6'4", probably like 230 or something like that.
Dang, he is big.
Big German guy. And my mom's smaller in nature. You know, she's a pretty petite female. And but my dad's old, and like, could he scrap? Sure, but like, pretty sure at the time he was like in his early 70s. So just not ideal. And basically my dad goes over there to knock on the door and be like, what the hell is going on? Do I need to call the freaking cops? Like, what are you doing? This drunk buffoon gets in my dad's face, and he basically, like, I'm pretty sure he sucker punched him.
Sucker punched your dad.
Yeah.
I hope your 70-year-old dad went to work on that character.
Well, he basically he shoved him up against the door or the wall and was gonna annihilate him, and my mom stepped in. And I caught wind of it a little bit too late.
Women love women, dude. It doesn't matter where you are, where you go.
Yeah.
Women love to get in the middle of a fight when dudes are fighting.
I know.
Like, they want to jump in, they want to separate you. Like, let the men fight. That's what we do.
And honestly, it's probably about the only logical thing that you could possibly do in an emotional situation is to calm the fight down and separate it. But it was probably for the best because, not only would my dad would have destroyed this dude, but we could have like ruined the whole trip for our entire family and the wedding and all that. So I wouldn't have cared. Me and my brothers ran over, and my little brother is a little bit bigger than me. He was a D1 linebacker in college, and so we were ready to freaking go. Like, what was that? That one Mark Wahlberg, Four Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was like we just lost a brother, and we were going over there to get revenge. But
now we're not advocating to start fights or anything like that.
No, not at all. But it just goes to show that when you're in an environment around people who lack emotional and physical self-control, and especially when they're under the influence, it's a dangerous, dangerous situation. It doesn't matter where you are. You could be at the nicest resort. You could be on a beautiful vacation. And that's why, like, what we've talked about many times before on the show is we will purposely not put ourselves in environments where those situations can arise, because you're just asking for trouble. It doesn't matter how savvy you are with holding yourself to a certain standard physically, or how best you can defend yourself. That none of that matters, right? If you're going into those situations, you have to be almost looking for that a lot of times.
Yeah, that's why if somebody invites me out past a certain time, I'm not going to go out and meet somebody at a bar. For one, I don't drink. And number two, nothing good happens after, say, like 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. And that's cliches after midnight, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll go out to dinner. I'll go out to a nice restaurant and chat. And if there's a coffee shop open at around 10, 11 o'clock at night, I'll go hang out there. I'll go listen to some jazz somewhere, but I'm not going to go to some nightclub where the music is pumping too loud. You can't have a conversation, because I know, and I'm definitely not taking my lady to a place like that, because I know there's intoxicated dudes, and I know what intoxicated dudes are all about, what they're looking for. And I'm not going to put myself or her in a position like that. And I don't understand why so many men put themselves in that position. And then they wonder why, they either got placed in handcuffs, went to jail, or nothing good ever comes from. If you can hold your alcohol and you drink moderately, then do your thing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you should not drink at all, because that's not my job to do that, right? But one thing that I realized from alcohol, for me personally, nothing good ever came out of it. Ever. Nothing. Yeah. There was never a positive experience that I had from drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
Not even one night stands that I've had. I can't even say that any of those were positive experiences.
No.
Right? And it goes south real quick. 1 minute you're feeling good, and then the next minute you're wondering why you got either somebody in your face, or you're having an argument with somebody, and you don't even know what you're arguing about. You don't even know why this chick is in tears, or this person is screaming and hollering because you said something or you did something, or why you're in the back of a police car.
Yeah. I think it comes down to you're seeking something. And maybe like at the very root subconsciously, it's just attention. Because it's no different than like when we used to go out to the bars, quote unquote, and there was always, like every single time, you can bet money on it that there was going to be a couple arguing and screaming at one another
Every
drunk
time.
every single time without fail. And that
And
couple,
I've been that couple.
yeah, I believe it. Yeah. I'm glad to say I've never been in that position, but it's always embarrassing to see.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even more embarrassing to see people get involved because it's almost what they want.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pointless arguing with a drunk person.
Yeah.
It's pointless. They're not going to listen. And you got to wait till somebody's sober before even having some sort of conversation that's dealing in any sort of logic.
Yeah. Well, now today we risk running into the problem of not even getting through to people who are sober.
Well, yeah, that's true too. You know, that's because they operate from a lower state of consciousness.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, to give some people the benefit of the doubt, I think it's just been conditioning over years to where it's very hard for them to open up their mind.
Yeah.
Right. They're very closed-minded to what they've already been told to believe. And I think we see that often too, just in the men's coaching space.
Mm-hmm.
There really is hardly any in between. Either guys really push back because their fragile ego, or really we're just calling them on the carpet for their crap is damaged.
Mm-hmm.
Then they get defensive, or guys will usually be like, no, you know what? And unfortunately, it's very rarely that this happens, but they've already at some point in time taken ownership and accountability, and they were just looking for that like-minded brother that could help them get themselves out of the hole.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't make somebody change, and everybody's got their own path too. You know, everybody has the journey that they're on, the direction that they're headed, and some people's path, for them to get to a better version of themselves, it's going to take a lot longer than others, because I mean, really, they got to mess up. They're going to mess up. Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to. I've been there, man, and you could have been the world's best coach trying to sit down with me 6 years ago. And because I wasn't ready for it, no matter what you would have told me or said to me, would have facilitated any change in myself.
Such a good point.
Because I wasn't ready to make that change. Yeah. I wasn't ready to make that decision. I still thought, and that's the challenge, you know. People think that they know everything when it comes to themselves. And until you truly know thyself, then change is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, and what do you think that is? What do you think is, like, besides rock bottom, right, which we see all the time? You either kind of continue digging yourself a deeper hole until you die, or you lose everyone around you, or you get out of it, right? But what do you think is, like, really that trigger point for people? Because I think I have an idea of what it is, but I want to hear, like, your perspective on why do you think that identifying who you truly are and finding also who you want to be is so critical?
Well, until you know who you want to become, you're going to escape the reality that you're presently in.
That you created. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was my situation. I can speak from my situation because I knew deep down inside, like we know, like there's something better. Like, we can be better. Like, when we were kids, think about it, man. When we were kids, when we were young, we had these dreams. We had these aspirations. You wanted to be a police officer. You wanted to be an astronaut. You wanted to be a firefighter, the president of the United States, right? We dreamed so big. Right. And then you go through life and you experience all these challenges. You may have failed at a few things. People have told you no. You got rejected. And then that starts to eat away at your confidence just a little bit, little by little. And if you don't have those wins, like me, like I got cut from the baseball team, and that was a kick in the forehead for me. And then you get another failure, so to speak, or another challenge that you didn't bounce back from. So if you have all these challenges in a short period of time, or even over an extended period of time, but you don't have any wins in there, then it's just you're beaten up, you're beaten up, you're beaten up, you're beaten up, you're beaten up. Where's the win, right? So there's nothing there to kind of instill that confidence in you. And then somebody like me who's so hard on myself, like I want to be the best at everything. And then I see a guy like my brother who barely has to study, didn't even have to study, and he gets straight A's, right? He goes out for the baseball team one time and he makes the team, makes the golf team, makes the basketball, all of these sports that he's super good at. And I'm over here like, what's wrong with me, right? And then confidence is just getting pancaked into the dirt every single time I experience these challenges. So one thing is this, again, know thyself. I was trying to be him. I was trying to be my brother. I wasn't trying to be me. I was trying to be somebody other than who I was, right? There's things that I'm really good at, but I was trying to be good at things that, and comparing myself when I should have been comparing myself to what I was yesterday, and then working and building upon that. Right. And then you get to a certain age and you're like, well, damn, I've quit so many things in my life before. This doesn't work out. I'm just going to quit and move on to the next thing. And if that doesn't work, I'll just quit that and move on to the next thing. Right. And then the switch flipped when, I did hit rock bottom and I was like, enough is enough. I need to figure out who I want to be. I need to get clear on that, and then get clear on who I don't want to be. And once I got clear on who I wanted to be and who I didn't want to be, and I started to work towards that and align everything in my life with what that looked like and what that man does and what his habits are, that's when things started to change for me.
Yeah, there's a real interesting parallel that you bring up, because the same way that we talk about consistency, that's what gets it's those small W's compounded over time that get us the big wins and the big rewards. But the same is true, just like you had mentioned, with those tiny little losses that were chipping away at your character and your ego and everything. And that was on the back end amounting to pretty big L's. And when you don't get yourself out of that hole and start collecting those small W's, you generate enough big losses and failures. That's where you get to that rock bottom. The whole time I heard you talk, I was thinking about how I think in order for a man to truly change himself inside and out, right? We talk about the three main pillars, the mental, the physical, and the spiritual. There has to be a certain level of surrender involved.
Letting go, absolutely.
Yeah. I think if you're unable to get, like, the surrender can look a lot of different ways, right? It can be the removal of vices, it can be a change in a mindset, but there has to be some level of sacrifice for the room to be made for the investments necessary to become who you want to be. And like, we know this because you have to surrender to God for God to do his work. You have to surrender your old thought process to introduce new ideas. You have to surrender things that you would do that didn't help your physical health so that you could focus on things that would improve your overall physical health. And I think, that's why personal development is really just like the foundation, where there's so many other levels after that, but you're not ever going to achieve any of those unless you realize that concept. Like until you truly let go and are able to detach from who you used to identify as and what actions you used to partake in, then that metamorphosis can truly happen.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Letting go of, basically it's letting go of that old version of you, letting go of who you used to be, right? And the thing about, a lot of people don't understand really what letting go is. And to me, letting go is, let's say you're letting go of a vice. If you're letting go of a vice, you're okay with the fact that if I have a relapse tomorrow, it's okay, right? I'm placing it in a higher power's hands, and I'm okay with it not being in my life, and I'm okay with the possibility of having a relapse, say with alcohol or pornography, whatever the vice is.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to work like it's up to me, but I'm going to live as though it's in God's hands. I'm going to pray like it's up to God. I'm going to work like it's up to me, and I'm going to know and have the faith that He's there to catch me if I fall.
So good. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's being okay with whether it happens or it doesn't happen. You have no attachment to it anymore. That's what it is right there. It's not you let go of that. There's a lot of letting go. You have to let go of a lot of
it's
things.
extensive,
right?
Yeah.
It's not letting go of just one thing. It's it's chipping away. It's almost as if like you become the scalpel that the doctor's holding, and or the chisel.
The chisel.
For Michelangelo's David, for example. You become the sculptor and the marble, right?
Yeah. And that marble blob is really thick from all the BS that you used to do.
Yeah, so it starts to so as you start to let go of this, and then you let go of that, and you let go of the fear, you let go of habits, all these little things that you let go of guilt. It starts to chip itself away. And that's what happened when I started to let go of the multiple vices that I was addicted to. That's why a lot of people will ask me, so was it difficult? The reality of it is it wasn't difficult because it really chipped itself away once I let go. It became almost seamless, right? Because what you resist persists, and I didn't resist it. I wasn't resisting. I wasn't relying on willpower. I was relying on a higher power.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
That, to me, it makes perfect sense. I hope our listeners really, if you didn't catch that, go back and rewind it, because that is a major nugget right there. Yeah, it's so true, man. And really, it becomes, I always say it becomes more familiar because of the momentum associated with those positive new attributes and habits.
Yeah.
Because it compounds significantly.
Yeah, and coming back, let's full circle here real quick.
Yeah.
Let's come back full circle. Those challenges and those failures that build up and amount to whoever I became prior to making that decision to changing my life. Overcoming something like pornography, overcoming something like alcohol, and being able to remove those from your life, the confidence that gives you totally annihilates all of that stuff that happened in the past. So anybody who is fortunate enough and blessed enough to be able to remove something from their life, like a vice, pornography or alcohol, drugs, whatever it might be, it changes you into somebody that is so powerful because you're no longer a slave. You're the one who's now in control. And you can pretty much sculpt your life how you want because of the confidence that you get from that and the power that you get from that. It's powerful.
That's huge, man. There's something I want to talk about as it relates to, and we've talked about this extensively and posted content about it for the Iron Mind Tribe. But masculinity is like a very misunderstood term and embodiment today versus really how it has been in the past. And we've done a good job defining that on previous episodes. But I got some feedback on a gentleman who was listening to our show, and he basically had said, like really wanted to get, the missus listening to it too. Even though, it's masculinity and it's for men. And I was like, let me stop you right there. Just because we're discussing something that is a topic that pertains primarily to men doesn't mean that women can't listen to and get a tremendous value from it. Mm-hmm. Especially if women are looking for what masculinity truly is and they haven't experienced that, or they've subjected themselves to the opposite. Because we all know it begins and ends with the man, mm-hmm. right? Just like if a father isn't in the household, that household is subjected to and vulnerable to a lot of chaos, a lot of trauma, a lot of misdirection and misguidance. And it doesn't matter if you're a son or a daughter, it impacts both drastically. But would you agree that, like, you know, the stuff that we talk about is not off limits to females? I would argue that it's even more important that they listen to it today.
No, let them listen to it, man. What, are you going to hide it from them? I mean, it's not something that, if they want to listen to it, sure, by all means, let her listen to it. Is our content specifically for men? Yeah, it's for men, but women can get some value out of it. I mean, you know, especially a lot of the stuff that we talk about when it comes to men being the example, men being leaders, men being providers, protectors, all of that. And if she disagrees with it, okay, she disagrees with it. That's for her to decide. She can have an opinion, all she wants. Yeah, and plus, I mean,
she
there
disagrees, get out.
There's the door,
yeah.
Right? But yeah, they can gain tremendous amount of value. And I've actually talked to women who listen to our podcast, mm-hmm. and they love it. And they say, man, my husband needs to listen to this.
Right.
Because, you know, I think it was Travis Neville who said, it's not us against them, it's us for them. So when we are the best and women want their man to be the best version of himself.
Absolutely.
They're rooting for us. They're pulling for us, right? It's if you've got the right woman at home. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have the right woman at home, you should probably know what the right kind of woman is. You know, there's ways to define that. There's flags to look for, whether they're red or they're green flags. You know, we're not going to get into all that today, but they're rooting for us. They want us to be our. It's like when you go to a public speaking event and you sit down and you listen to a public speaker, motivational speaker, whatever they're talking about, whatever the topic is, a TED Talk. Do you sit in the crowd and do you say to yourself, man, I hope he fails? No, absolutely not. You sit in the crowd and you hope that they deliver the best daggone message that they can deliver. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's the same thing. It should be the same thing with women and their men. They should want what they're doing to be the best, right? Be in the best physical shape, to be the best mental shape that they can be in, the best father, the best provider, the best protector. They want us to succeed. And it's incumbent upon us as men to not only help lift other men up, help them be in a better position to be better men, better leaders, better examples, better providers. And that's why we do what we do, is because we want to help men get better, be the best that they can be. But that's what it's all about, man. It's about being better. And if we say something that somebody disagrees with, then they disagree with it. Yeah. And that's okay.
Fine.
You can disagree with us. That's perfectly okay. Because the intention is to help men get better, to be better, not to pin anybody against anybody.
No, it's all about improvement. And it doesn't matter where you're at in your journey of self-discovery and betterment, because to Chris's point, and I want to stress this a lot and reiterate this, the right woman will be with you not because you're the most masculine man that she's ever been with, but because she sees the potential in you. Because the best thing that you can do is dictate and show through your actions a track record of progression and improvement and leadership that will amount to the man that you want to be, and also the man that she would love to continue to see grow.
Yeah, I'm very glad that you said that, because yes, early stages, a woman looks for potential, right? She wants to see that you have potential. She wants to be able to look up to you. But that potential needs to birth something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It is and that's why I said action.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I'm glad you
Because
said that.
there are a lot of guys that we have known and that we've seen, right, through clients and potential clients, that are really good at articulating their words and having conversation and convincing them of their viewpoint. But all of that means nothing if you don't actually have the specific actions that back up what your vision, your goal, and your plan is.
Yeah.
And women can sense that. Just like we can sense, if we're lying to one another or whatever, people have phenomenal BS detectors, but women will be able to subconsciously sniff that out.
Yeah, we don't want to hear about the labor pains and all the BS that leads up to giving birth. Show us the baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good analogy.
Show the baby.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially too because men are much more susceptible to playing the victim card when they don't have the action to back it up. Whereas we understand that women are emotional creatures, so naturally that's a state that they're in pretty frequently. And when you're in an emotional state, it's very hard to make the proper and execute on the proper action that you need to. And we've mentioned this before in business, but this is so true in your personal life, because I know firsthand that there's been a lot of decisions I've made in the past in an extremely emotional manner that have come back to bite me in the butt, for sure.
Bro, you show me a man who doesn't take accountability and responsibility for his actions and plays and throws that victim card, I'll show you a feminine man.
For sure.
Masculinity, one of the pillars of masculinity is taking ownership, taking accountability, right? No matter how ugly it is, no matter how dirty it is, taking accountability for everything in your life. That right there alone, man, will change somebody's life. You start taking accountability for where you are right now, your life will start to change.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, and I think the most powerful saying that I constantly rehearse in my head as it relates to accountability and ownership is the one that you blame, you give the power to.
Yeah.
So why would you ever blame somebody else for something that not only could you take the accountability of, but also look at it from a lens of what could I have done better?
Yeah.
Which is the whole point of masculinity, that self-improvement aspect. That is a constantly revolving door, a cyclical pattern where you are focusing on the one mission. And that one mission is, I have to get better every single moment of my life.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And when you refuse to take accountability, what all that is that you're placing the blame on something or somebody else, so you can still sit in your little comfortable chair over there and not do the work, right? It's easier to place the blame on somebody or something else.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to look in the mirror and be brutally honest with yourself, which is probably one of the hardest things for somebody to do who's not used to taking accountability and responsibility, right? Because it's easy to lie to yourself, and it's very comfortable to lie to yourself. You know?
Yeah.
Even something as simple as, I'm afraid to engage in conversations with the opposite sex, right? Telling yourself, being able to overcome that and telling yourself that you are afraid to do that, for just as an example, is, if you're able to do that, it's very freeing. It's very liberating, for one, and you can start to make the necessary changes and do the work to better yourself at those conversations. And that's with anything. Right? I'm afraid to to go into the gym because I'm afraid people are going to judge me, rather than saying, I don't need to go to the gym. I'm fine. And you sit at home and you eat freaking Cheetos and wipe your cheese fingers all over your shirt all day. You know, it's so much easier to be honest with yourself, because then you can start to make the necessary changes that you need to make.
Yeah, and that's also why environment is everything, bro.
Yeah.
Because imagine that situation where you don't go to the gym because you're self-conscious that others are going to judge your physique and so, right? And you do the opposite. You do something that's actually going to take you in the negative direction. And then you do that enough, you rehearse that idea and that excuse enough, even so much to tell, friends or strangers that excuse. If they're not of a different mentality than you, a better mentality, and they also don't have the balls to check you on that, then they're going to be ones that are going to further instill that BS excuse that you created, that narrative that you subscribe to. Mm-hmm. But here's the funny thing, though. Even if those people don't say anything or they agree with you, it's not their fault. Again, the accountability is yours, right? You have to take ownership for you actually trying to bring others into that pit of despair that you're in.
Yeah.
And that's honestly pretty pathetic. Now, I say that because I've most certainly been there before, right? I don't want this to seem like, oh, we're on this pedestal. No. Like Chris and I, at one point in time in our lives, we've been where you or somebody that you know has been. That's why we talk about these things. That's why we shed light on them. We have these uncomfortable, brutal, honest conversations, and we provide the solutions because that's what it's all about. And I think it's more relatable coming from us than hearing it from these talking heads and these leaders in these certain spaces and motivation, because again, it's a lot of times it's just noise. Where's the legit action?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That example that I gave about being afraid to communicate or have a conversation with females, that was me when I was in my early, like 18, 19, 20 years old. So what I would do is I would drink. And I wasn't afraid to talk to women when I was intoxicated. And I thought I had game, man. I thought, call it Riz now. I thought I had Riz, right? Had that charisma.
Yeah.
So if I was sober, I wouldn't walk. It was very, very rare.
Right.
And if I did, I was super nervous. But then alcohol, one night stands, meeting all kinds of women, I would do it when I was intoxicated. And I would lie to myself and tell myself that I was good with women, when the reality was I couldn't go talk to a woman and have the same result sober, right? Because I do things drunk that I wouldn't do if I wasn't drunk.
Yeah.
Alcohol lowers your inhibitions and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Do things that you normally wouldn't do. And the moment that I got clear with myself and I became honest with myself, dude, it was like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. Then I started doing the work on myself. That's when things started to change. And women started to notice that, right? Then women would come up to me. Pamela came up to me.
This is such a good point, man. That's so good.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you start putting off a totally different energy.
Yeah. Well, what it is too is you finally stepped into reality, right? You had a false reality and the reality of life converging into one.
Yeah.
You convinced yourself that the reality that you lived when you were under the influence and disassociating from real life was real life to you.
Boom.
And I think that is exactly why people partake in vices, because it becomes a mask for what you really truly are capable of if you didn't have that as part of the equation.
The song Mask Off is playing in the back of my head right
now. Yeah, that's right. And I know that to be true for myself too, because when I finally quit drugs and alcohol, was when I had a very climactic moment in my life where I realized I was very present in the moment that I was disassociating from reality and using those substances to escape what life I could have truly created.
Yeah.
And I literally almost saw myself in a third person view. And I said, what the, F am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
And it was right then and there. I woke up and it was gone. And obviously there's a lot of things leading up to that. You have to constantly be questioning something, I feel like, to really cut it off cold turkey. Like, yes, we can pinpoint like what that date and that time was that we went sober.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of times leading up to that where we had, as they would call it, sobering conversations with ourselves while we were under the influence of like, wait, why am I really doing this?
Yeah.
Either something questionable happened around you or to you, or something questionable that you did. And then you really just get inside your own head and analyze things from a completely different lens. And I think that's when the transformation happened for me specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. I went years talking about removing alcohol from my life while relapsing every weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that
I've
went
been
on for
there
years.
too.
And then there was one, I remember one summer where I removed it for it was like 30 or 40 days. I was feeling good about myself. But here's the thing. Still hanging out with the same people. Switching to non-alcoholic beer. Going out to the bar still and hanging out, drinking non-alcoholic beer. Like, yeah, I'm drinking non-alcoholic beer. I don't drink anymore. Hanging out with the same people, staying out till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, doing the same stuff. Nothing in my life changed except trying to remove alcohol from my life. And wouldn't you know, guess what happened? Right back to the same old version of me, because I didn't align everything in my life. I didn't get rid of the bartender girlfriend that I was dating. I didn't stop hanging out at bars. I didn't get rid of the drinking buddies, right? I didn't get rid of any of that stuff. So needless to say, it perpetuated until ultimately that final decision was made, let go, and change the environment, align my life with the man that I want to become.
Yeah, it's so true, man. You can't just prune the weed. You got to pull it out by the root.
That's great analogy right there.
Yeah, or truly cut, the head of the snake off, right?
Yeah, you got to get down to the root. It's like a glacier, man. All you see with a glacier is what's on the surface level. It's very small, right?
Yep.
It can be large on top, but you go below the water, and that glacier is
Sucker
huge.
is gigantic.
It is huge.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to get down to the bottom of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so true because, and we've seen this with guys that have come to us for help, right? They thought that they got rid of it, but then there were parts of their life where they still dabbled in the idea, right? And this is coming full circle because when we talked about in the beginning of the episode, right, we won't subject ourselves to the situations that aligned with our old selves and our old habits. It's just like, why would somebody who's sober want to be a bartender, right? Wyatt, who doesn't masturbate, watch porn. It makes no sense. So why are you
YouTube chill with that.
What is it?
I said YouTube chill with that.
Oh, yeah.
It gets censored.
Damn. I meant prawn. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I actually may be able to censor that post edit, but anyway.
It's all good. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. Like in the early stages, yeah, why would you want to put yourself in that position? But here's the beautiful part. Here's what's powerful. Once you ultimately let go, I can walk into a bar. I can go sit down at a bar. I don't want to. I don't want to be in that environment.
For sure.
Like once you elevate your frequency and your consciousness to a certain level, you don't want to be in certain environments anymore. Like you feel very uncomfortable.
Right.
It's
You
like
can be, but you don't want to.
right. I can go sit at a bar and I can order a water. I can order a coffee, right? Bring me an espresso. Everybody at this bar can sit here and have their drink. That's perfectly fine. I'm okay because I know without a shadow of a doubt, 1,000%, I am not going to even think about wanting to have a drink, right? And that's what letting go does. It's once you let go of it, it's gone. But willpower, when you're trying to resist it, if you're still relying on that, then your environment is going to be huge.
Yeah, I actually just talked about this on my story today, but I was running late Sunday night, and it was in an area that was pretty dark. And honestly, if I didn't have the street lamps and the street lights there, I wouldn't have been able to see where I was going because I did not have a headlamp or any sort of flashlight on me. And as I was running, I was thinking about this situation I was in and kind of everything I just laid out. And it's a perfect analogy for life, right? Like running at night without a light, you have to rely on your environment because you weren't prepared enough to bring the right tools and resources to the table. And the same is true with anything that we do. If we don't come to the table prepared, ready to execute the highest level, then we fall back on the tools and resources available to us in our environment. And we know we're a product of our environment. So if we don't surround ourselves with the right people, places, and things, and we're not prepared, then we're just aimlessly wandering. We don't know where we're going. You don't have a clear-cut path because you didn't prepare and your environment sucks. So everybody likes to talk about, oh, you are, the 5 people you associate with. But I would also argue that it's that, but it's also what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
Right? Because we can try our best to always have that one person in our circle who's better than us that we aspire to be like and whatnot. That's all great and dandy and very cliche motivational talk. But if you don't bring the right tools to the table to execute the mission successfully, that's on you. And you relying on what you have around you a lot of times is not going to cut it at all.
Yeah.
And it was funny, as I thought that thought, I started, my thoughts were all over the place. I had some music in, but sometimes when you're running, and you know this firsthand, a lot of times you're kind of just whittling away at all of that chatter and distraction that you have going on between your ears, and you're getting to a calm tranquility place. Well, I still was kind of just whittling away at dumb thoughts, focusing on manufactured drama in my head. Sometimes I'll even have these random thoughts. I don't know if anybody else has this or not, but almost from another universe, a situation that I'm in and a very worst case scenario happens that I envision that doesn't happen in reality. Like I trip and fall and I bust my nose or something like that. Obviously didn't happen in real life, but it's almost as if it happened in an alternate reality where I was doing the same thing. Well, I'm locked into this weird thought process, and then I look up at the last second and there's this gigantic doe right in front of the path. And
Doe, like deer?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying.
Just making sure. Some people might be like, a doe? Like what?
Yeah, the Pillsbury Doughboy was right in front of me. And I ate him. Yeah, this gigantic female deer. And where I was running was going down Princess Anne towards Pungo, where it's 55 and you got the double lane highways and then forest. So she was in between me, which I was on the sidewalk, and the road. And I stopped dead in my tracks. I'm like, she's either going to like frightened, like run into traffic and I'm going to witness a freaking hit and run, or she's going to come bolting at me. So I like stopped running completely and we looked at each other. We locked eyes for a second. And then she just kind of like super peacefully walked in front of me into the forest and went away. And that right there was like a God moment where he was just like, calm yourself down, calm your mind. And after that, I had such a blissful rest of my run. I hadn't run long distance in a while, and I did 7.5, no problem that night. And it was freaking awesome. But I think I share that because if you guys really want inspiration on like clarity of thought and what to do moving forward in that day and sometimes in that week or in that month, go for a run. You'll really like clear your head. It's almost like a moving meditation.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, man, running, even walking can be meditative because you got so many thoughts running through your head, and that is a great way to just get clear. Get clear on a lot of things. Get clear on your thoughts. You're going to have all those thoughts running through your head, and sometimes my best ideas are not when I'm lifting weights, but when I'm on a walk. Because just the thoughts, you can just sift through all the BS. You can let go of certain things, and then the thoughts that really have any sort of meaning, any value, they start to populate.
Yeah.
You're like, yep, I'll snag that one right there. Yeah, that's beautiful, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and the best way that you can snag those thoughts is reinforce them. Continue that talk track on that specific subject in your head. And even if you don't have all the right answers to what that thought exactly is, it's going to start to evolve. Because I thought about that analogy very early on in my run. And I said, wait, hold on a second. Let me think about this a little bit further. Okay, no headlamp. I do have some light from around me. Oh my God, this is just a great life analogy right here. And then you just continue to expand upon it. And then you reinforce in your head, almost like you're giving your own TED talk to yourself. And that's also a way that you can gain confidence in expressing very valuable life lessons and advice to people, not for the sake of content or for, making a motivational selling piece, but you just don't know when that own advice that you have learned from experience comes up can be impactful for somebody else.
Right.
And I know we've had countless DMs, text messages, comments from people that have been paying attention but not engaging. And they're like, thank you. This literally changed my perspective, or it changed my life, or it stopped me from doing this bad thing, or it helped me to do this good thing. And that's everything, man.
Yeah, you don't know whose life you might change just by something that you say. That's why I always say, man, social media, keep it positive. Because it can be a detriment to your life, or it can be very valuable to your life and somebody else's life. Because you might say something or post something that somebody got some value out of. You might not even know this person. They might not even tell you, but if there's something that changed your life, don't be afraid to put it out there. It's very selfish if you do not put it out there. Because if you got some sort of knowledge and you just hang on to that, what's the point, man? Be of service. And, if you can do that for somebody, man, that's awesome. It's like, think about it like this. If you go out and you buy somebody's groceries for them, that's going to make you feel really good about yourself, right? Don't tell anybody about it. Don't go out there and do it for any sort of clout or anything like that.
Right.
But think about this. If you're feeling unfulfilled in your life, go be of service to somebody. And that feeling is going to change real quick, because now you're going to feel good about yourself because you did something great. Now, magnify that on a larger scale. We'll use social media, for example. Let's say you start posting some sort of content that you've had some challenges in your life. You've overcame those challenges. You've conquered some things. And now you start sharing that with people. You start sharing your story and people start listening. People start following along. And you change somebody's life because of something that you've gone through, or you save somebody's life because maybe they were going through a hard time and you said something that gave them just a little bit of hope. And they applied what you said to their life. Now, they may have told you about it. They may not have told you about it. But there's probably somebody out there whose life that you can impact in some positive way. Mm-hmm. And imagine how that's going to make you feel just knowing that, hey, you know what? I'm making a difference. I don't have people that reach out to me every single day to say, man, you changed my life, or you said something that made a difference in my life. But I know based off of what I'm doing, it's fulfilling me. I'm getting fulfillment out of that. And it would be extremely selfish for me not to. So yeah, be selfless, man. Go serve, make a difference for people. It's not just about you.
And you don't have to have this crazy amount of money and resources to do so. God calls us to be those servant leaders and to give more than we receive. And so I think that's a great way to end the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. But guys, we appreciate it if you drop us a like, throw a comment on there, share it if this resonated with you in any capacity, share it with a friend, share it with a few friends. And Eric and I were both on Instagram. You can go follow our account on Instagram as well, at According to Men. You can follow our personal accounts also. I'm at Chris Automatic. That's OTTOMATIC.
And I'm at Eric Hines, ERICHINZZ.
But yeah, this has been a great episode, man.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the
agree,
conversation.
for sure. And we're going to do our best to produce these episodes on a weekly basis, now moving forward with video, so that all of our listeners can watch the YouTube videos and actually see us talking on camera. And yeah, guys, we're not ever gonna run ads. We're not trying to push any other agenda down your throat other than betterment of yourself and the people around you with the content that we provide. So we humbly ask that you guys share the show and leave us a review. We read all of the reviews on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and we answer all the questions that we can. So if you guys want to submit those to us, more than happy to answer them. But till next time, guys.
Peace.
Peace.